I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever gone to the movies for the sheer delight of being scared out of your wits? Come on, how many of you snuck back to see The Exorcist for the second time? Or gave up your Saturday afternoon to watch House on Haunted Hill for the 35th time? Indeed, horror pictures have a mysterious fascination, and some of the effects achieved are just beyond your imagination. My guests today have a unique interest in very scary movies. They've published a sort of magazine, if you will, that devotes itself to the study of the macabre, or the macabre. The magazine, in fact, is called the CINEMACABRE, and it's my pleasure to welcome Steve Vertlieb of Channel 29 and John Parnham, an editor. Welcome to Newsprobe. I'm glad you could join me today. Yeah. Why, of all things, would you come up with a magazine for horror flicks?
I think there's a very strong interest in horror flicks, as you say. There's a mass appeal toward horror films. And wouldn't you say so, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. I think people have always been fascinated by the unknown. Horror films have always been popular. People like to scoff at them and make themselves feel more comfortable by snickering in the theater. But actually, they're really very frightened by them. And there's this universal appeal has never abated, really. It's gotten, if anything, stronger in the years.
People like to be scared?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, how did you get interested in it?
Well, unlike everyone else, I like to be scared. It's a vicarious thrill. For the same reason I think people are fascinated by watching death on the evening news. They're repulsed by it, but they're also fascinated by it. They're comforted in knowing that it's not they who are on the line. And I think that's really the same motivation in enjoying horror films.
I saw a poster when I was 10 years old of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. I said I wanted to see that movie, and my parents said absolutely not. And that's when my interest started, when I was told I shouldn't see that film.
Would you say that they're becoming more popular now than they used to be?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Not to use a cliche, but it is true. I think the more unrest in the world, the more turmoil, the more uncertainty about war, the more people tend to seek unreal horrors. It's a lot easier to contend with a King Kong or a Dracula than with the Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yeah,
that's right. There was a study done showing that during the Depression years, there was a rise in the number of horror films that were put out. During the Second World War, there was an extremely large amount of horror films put out. Then they dwindled off. Then came the Korean War, more horror films. And actually, we've been building because I think the world has been pretty unstable for about 20 years now, so there's been a lot of horror films around.
So when would you say actually the horror